I'm here at the studio of Vlad Yudin. We are about to watch some previews of the new film Generation Iron, which is the sequel to Pumping Iron. Vlad's been working on this film for over a year. It features Phil Heath, Kai Green, Branch Warren, Dennis Wolfe, Hidetami Yamagishi. The list goes on of all the competitors as they prepare for the 2012 Mr. Olympia contest. Vlad has put a lot of time and effort into this movie. It's going to be released, I guess, worldwide or at least countrywide in regular movie theaters on the 20th of September. I'll be at the screening on the 10th of September, and there'll be a special screening at the Mr. Olympia contest at the end of September as well. I'm really interested to see how he got involved in this film, see some of the highlights, find out who actually were the special guests were, because I hear that Arnold's in the film, I hear that Mickey Rourke's in the film, Lou Ferrigno's in the film. So let's go into his offices here, find out the creative process and what's going on here, and when we can expect to see the completed version.
Phil Heath has had a lot of gifts. He's the gift. I mean, you know, you got gifts, and gifts is great. This dude is still fighting for his life.
It ain't all talk when you're on that stage, man. The pain and the sacrifice, the sweat, all the hard work, man. When that natural winner, it's all worth it.
It's perfecting your physique. It's an art form.
Bodybuilding, you do all your work at the gym, pushing yourself to the most extreme.
I'm gonna feel like a true Adonis, man, like a god.
It'll be a great event.
Generation Iron is about bodybuilding, but it's really more about the characters, bodybuilders, you know what I mean? And I really wanted to explore what motivates them to do what they do. Because really it's normal people just like us, just like regular people, but they have a very extraordinary jobs. What they do is completely out of the ordinary for a normal human being to really understand. So I really wanted to explore that and portray it on film. So the process was difficult in the beginning because most people said that today's bodybuilders don't have charisma, personality, or anything that would be remotely interesting to people to see in the theater. You know what I mean? Whereas people from the Pumping Iron days were actually interesting. Well, I disagree with that. I wanted to actually learn for myself.
How do you draw the personalities out of the bodybuilder? Because bodybuilders by nature are very controlled, very, mono, they're very robotic almost in a sense in the way they approach their daily lives, and that's the benefit of bodybuilding, obviously. But how do you get these people to open up to you on camera?
You're absolutely right. It's very difficult to get them to open up. Because first of all, they don't trust you, especially when you don't come from their world. I have nothing to do with bodybuilding. This is what was my introduction to bodybuilding, to really start working on the film. So it was spending a lot of time with them and sort of being around them for a while, and then just explaining them my vision. I told them that I've seen various programs that were done before this film, and it was mostly, very controlled. They were in control of the situation. You know what I mean? When you control the situation, you don't want to open up too much. So I wanted to be in control in a way, but at the same time, make it feel comfortable for them to open up. You know what I mean? Of course, having the camera crew on standby all the time, it was at some point we were going to get those moments.
Did you have to do hours and hours of footage of these guys to break them down and kind of get them to relax?
Absolutely.
Which I'm sure is very laborsome.
Yes, it is, and that's why we spent a long time making this film. A lot of people complain today, like, why are you guys taking a year making this film? What's going on? So we had to do a lot of reshoots. We had to go back to certain cities to do some pickup shots, you know what I mean? And we had to make it a great film. It's very important because if it doesn't hold up to the expectations, then it's obviously bad.
Who was the most difficult person to get to open up to the camera?
I mean, they were all pretty difficult. I think Branch Warren was definitely difficult because he's a conservative guy. He doesn't necessarily want to be. He wants to be portrayed the way he wants to be portrayed. You know what I mean? So we had to spend some time with him.
And you got him?
Absolutely, yeah. He's a great character. Amazing. His workouts in the gym, people will love to see him in the gym. It's very intense.
Here's a guy who's had multiple injuries too, and he still trains like you would think that he never hurt himself ever in his life.
It's unbelievable. We talk about that in the film a lot. I can't believe he trains like that.
Who is the most compelling character, would you say, in the movie? Not necessarily, the most likable, but the most compelling.
Well, Victor Martinez's story is very compelling because we started filming. Actually, when we started preparing for the film, Victor was still in jail. I'm sure you know about the story. He was locked up for 7 months. For a bodybuilder to be away from bodybuilding for 7 months is tragic. You basically lose all your mass. You can't eat there the way you eat outside, obviously. But it's just, full deterioration, basically, But so when we started making the film already, we were in the process of actually filming the first scenes. He got out of jail, and we contacted him, and he said he wants to make a comeback. So he had like a few months before the Olympia to get prepared for it. He didn't know he was going to make it, but we said, you know what, it's a good story. Let's have him in. So just to have a person come out of jail, being there for 7 months, to try to make it back to the Olympia stage is crazy, you know. And he was going through emotional stress, physical stress, and just to see how he was able to do it was crazy.
You were able to capture that all on
Yeah.
film.
Yeah. Well, Kai's an artist, and I think Kai has many layers to him, so you don't really fully know what's you know, at the beginning you don't know what's real and what he was trying to do, you know what I mean? But I think, you know, spending time with him, he's a true artist, you know. He's actually a painter, he draws stuff, and, you know, and to him bodybuilding is more mental and emotional, I think, than just physical. He meditates in the gym, you know what I mean, stuff like that. It's important to capture that, and I feel like most people, when they see a film like that, they're not going to expect a bodybuilding film to be about that, you know. Most people think of bodybuilders as unintelligent meatheads that go pump the iron, you know what I mean, and that's all you think about. When you see people like Kai and Phil Heath and Victor, you really start to understand that it's not just that. It's more of an emotional thing and a mental thing, just a physical thing. Well, Mickey Rourke, you know, I always wanted him to narrate the film. Almost immediately from the point where we just started making the film, I wanted to have a narrator in the film, and Mickey was our number one choice to do it.
Why was that?
Because his voice is very, just something about his voice is very important. You know, I don't know if you've seen The Wrestler. It really highlights his voice, and it was very, very deep, very emotional. You know what I mean? And I thought that it's important to bring somebody like this in the film. Also, Mickey is obviously into sports. He's into bodybuilding himself. His father used to be an amateur bodybuilder in New York, so he can relate to them. You know what I mean? So it's not just you bring some Hollywood actors that has never been in the gym before or doesn't know anything about bodybuilding. He actually is in it in a way, you know what I mean? So he was a natural fit, I thought.
Now, Jay Cutler, who's 4-time Mr. Olympia, obviously was not preparing for the Olympia this year. I understand he is in the film. In what capacity did he add to the film?
Well, Jay's obviously, you know, 4-time Mr. Olympia. You know, he's an authority in the sport. So we did a great interview with him in Vegas and got his sort of like thoughts on who's going to win. And just got his thoughts on Phil and Kai and everything else. So it was almost like commentary on today's bodybuilders.
Knowing that he made a comeback this year, did you feel like, oh, we didn't have him, you know, he wasn't coming back that year?
No, not at all. Because you know what? Because Kai and Phil and everybody else, of course, that's in the film. We have Branch Warren, we have Dennis Wolf, we have Hidetada. You know, we had very colorful characters. So the characters that we picked were not necessarily just like, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like the best bodybuilders. You know, obviously Kai and Phil, you know, they're number 1 and number 2, but Hidetada, for instance, was not even, you know, he's in the top 10, of course, but he was not, you know, in the 1 or 2 position. But just an interesting character, you know. So it was all about characters, and it was totally fine. It's important to have, of course, the stars of Pumping Iron in this film. So Lou Ferrigno, of course. We have other ones as well, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I feel like, is an authority in the sport in general. I feel like every bodybuilder in the world has a respect for him. You know, I think, you know, everybody has the number 1 bodybuilder. Like, you have your number 1, I'm sure, who's you think is best of all time. You know, but he's respected by everybody. So I think, you know, for him it's important to be in a film like that. Just to have his presence, you know, gives it a more stamp of approval.
Was he open to doing the movie, or did you have to?
Yeah, absolutely. No, of course he was open, definitely.
When can we expect to see the movie in movie theaters?
September 20th. It's very important people understand it's a theatrical film. I think most people didn't expect that in the beginning, you know, but it's a theatrical film. It's coming to AMC theaters across the nation, all the major cities. September 20th. You have to go see it.
Is there a website for it?
Generation-iron.com is the website. We're on Facebook. We get a lot of support from people like you. Bodybuilding across the whole world. People hit us up all the time, and magazines like yourself, websites, you know, radio stations. So it's great.
There's always that pressure. That's why a lot of guys fail, just because there's so much pressure. This is the one everybody remembers.
As long as you know in your heart that you gave it your all, you're a winner.
I won the Olympia, man, and I know I can be better than that.
I'm gonna be very hard to beat. This year will be a different story.
It's time for the ring, dude.
There's no way I'm gonna lose.
I better be ready, you know? I better be ready to bring it.